glad to be here. Super excited. I would have come anyway because two of my very favorite former coworkers are here. And this is like a mini reunion, so I'm thrilled that Jill and Krista are here. And Nate, of course, anytime, anywhere. Okay, guys, I was just checking to see which slides are included here. We're all going to find out together what's in this presentation. I'm really not quite sure yet. This is a bunch of different stuff. Hopefully it's all super practical, actionable stuff that we can all go do right away. That isn't really big picture theory. Closer? Is that way better? Okay. So practical, actionable, tactical stuff. I'm going to skip all the theory, and we're going to go right to the how-to. I'm going to do this tomorrow. Let's get started kind of things, okay? And the title gets me excited. How to make friends, rank high, and get famous using social media. Wow, setting some expectations there. Okay, it comes down to this. The 1% rule. There are two kinds of people on the internet. There are creators and there are consumers, right? Most people online just kind of consume everyone else's content, right? But 1% of people actually make the internet. There's a small percentage of us, and content marketers are a good example, of people who make stuff. And my whole little presentation here is about how to find and connect with those people to get massive benefits in our marketing, because those are the people that can really drive results for us. This is basically modern day how-to digital PR. This is modern day how-to search engine optimization. And this is influencer marketing, which is a killer, super popular tactic right now. Have you guys heard this mentioned before, influencer marketing? Yeah, it's a big thing, and here's why. There's two kinds of social media, basically, two ways to use social media. The first way is to, as a bad way to put it, a dumping ground for links. You're promoting your content. You're sharing stuff online because you want people to read it. We all know that it's not the best content that wins on the internet. It's the best promoted content that wins on the internet, right? Creating content is not enough. Prime example, the New York Times does not have a list of the best books. They have a list of the best-selling books. That's a marketing list, right? It's the best promoted content that wins. So of course we know we need to do that. So of course we share our content in social media. And a recent survey we did found that 89% of bloggers share their content on social. Duh, we all do that. That's obvious. That's connecting to many people through one social network or a few social networks. But the piece on the right is not the same way to use social media. It's to use it as a way to network. It's to use it as a way to connect, to find people and to connect with them. That's connecting to one person through many social networks. The first way has very direct benefits. You can see it in your analytics. That's getting traffic. The second way has really indirect benefits, and that's making friends. That's getting value by having more connections. And that person who you connected with has a huge network themselves, because you're going to connect specifically with the individuals that have a larger social network, the individuals that are influencers. They have already built the audience you want to talk to. They are already relevant to your potential buyers. They're out there. They've spent years cultivating their audience, right? We're going to borrow that audience from them. That's the point. And these are that 1% of people who make the internet. Who are they? They are journalists. They are authors. They are podcasters. They're academic researchers. They're event producers. Thank you, Nate. And of course, they're bloggers and they're blog editors. So we want to find these people specifically. Okay? So step one is how to find them. The good news is that social media is the world's greatest phone book. You can find people not just based on who they are, but based on what they're thinking today, because we can search for people based on their posts. This is really, really powerful. One of the easy ways to do this, though, and I don't use, and I'm active on Twitter, this tactic of finding people on social media, you don't have to be active in that social network. I'm using it like a phone book. It doesn't matter if you're active on that social network. You're just using that social network to search for people, okay? Google Plus has like 700 million people. I don't care what you think of Google Plus as a viable social network or an active marketing channel, but trust me, the influencers you'd like to connect with are there. There's hundreds of millions of people there. Okay, so what we want to do is to search for, and I'm going to use a follower wonk to search Twitter. All you have to do is to put in the keyword plus one of those words that indicates they're a content creator. I think in this case I put dog trainer plus blogger. And this is showing me 36 dog training bloggers. That took me like 10 seconds. You can find insanely specific people in seconds on social media. I want to talk about people who like loggers within 50 miles from here. There's a list of 20 of them. People talking about snowmobiling in Russian. There's 15 of them. Just imagine whoever you want to meet. Just imagine the person who would give your marketing and your company the biggest benefit, and you can find them almost guaranteed, right, in minutes. using these social media search tools. That's all there is to it. So this is one of the many lists that a good content marketer has. A great content marketer has a list of influencers that they're gradually becoming friends with. They have a list of keywords that they're targeting. They have a list of topics, which is part of their publishing calendar, right? They have a list of blogs that they're reaching out to over time. This is one of the many lists. There's a blog post on Groove HQ that calls them ballers. I think that's funny. I do this all the time. Here's a content promotion tactic using this trick, and I do it all the time. If I write a blog post that has a theme and a topic, I will simply search for the theme and the topic and find people who like both that theme and that topic. I wrote a blog post about like search optimization and like zombies or something, and there were like 18 people who had zombie and SEO in their Twitter bio. Just share the post and mention them. So all I'm doing, this one was an example of a post I wrote about how the overlap between journalism and content marketing. And I instantly found a list of people who are content marketers and journalists and just put CC on the end of the tweet. And minutes later, one of the guys that I mentioned shared this and favorited it. And 10 minutes later, he connected with me on LinkedIn. Why? Because he's exactly that person, right? This is like what Andrew was talking about with Facebook targeting. You can find exactly the person who would care the most about that piece of content. Because they fit in that overlap between the topics, so they like both the theme and the topic you were writing about. But mostly what I want to do with this is I want to do networking because I want to find content creators because they're going to drive a social and search optimization, a search ranking benefit to me. So here's how we do it. This is my step-by-step process of how to make friends with content creators on the internet. This is the same Groove HQ blog post. They just have a very short checklist. I'm going to give you a more complete one. They just say, follow the person on Twitter, tweet at them twice, comment on their blog, share some of their blog posts, and then send them a personal email. This is a very short process to make a friend. I'm not sure if you're really friends with the person after just those few things. If it's on a Post-it note, I'm not sure if that's really, we're truly going to be friends after that. So I'm going to show you a kind of a longer, slower process. Yes, all content marketing is slow, but a way to really build a stronger connection with people, okay? So now that we know who we are, we have them on a list, we're going to be watching what they do, we start by listening. Subscribe to their stuff. Step one. On Feedly or email, use a social listening tool, Talkwalker, Newsly, or Brand24. They're going to show up in your inbox. You're going to see what they're writing about. You're going to see what they're talking about. We start by listening, right? This is reciprocity is going to take effect here. Add them to a circle if you use Google+. Follow them on Twitter if you're using Twitter. And add them to a list. The average Twitter follower follows like, 800 people or something like that. It's kind of a lot. Really, the home stream for most of us is very noisy. It's not, I don't even watch my home stream anymore, I'm sorry to say. If I'm seriously paying attention to something, I'll probably put it on a list. That way you can watch it separately. Here's a screenshot from Hootsuite. And you can see how I have my mentions on one side. You can set up, Hootsuite's lovely, you can set up multiple streams. I have my mentions on one side, and then I have this radar list. I put them on a list called radar, and I'm going to watch them separately. Much more likely to interact with them if I'm watching them separately by using a list. It filters out all the signal from the noise, and now you can watch these people more specifically. So that radar list. Feedly is, I get way too much email. Everyone gets way too much email. If you don't want to subscribe to the newsletters of 25 influencers that you're going to gradually kind of schmooze with, put them in Feedly. Feedly's a great way. Unsubscribe from tons of your newsletters and just put them in Feedly. I keep Feedly open as like a pinned tab on one of my browsers. And when you go in there, they're all categorized, and I have one category called Watch List. I just go look at that list, and I can see all the recent posts from all the people that I'm following, all the people that I'm keeping an eye on in my influencer marketing. It's a really easy way to do it. Google Plus Circles is another thing. The advantage of Google Plus, of course, is that you can't really connect with someone without organizing it, without putting them in a specific circle. I'm not very active in Google Plus anymore, but that's a circle of influencers that I was gradually connecting with and paying attention to. We're listening to them, now we're going to start engaging with them. Step 2. Favorite their stuff, +1 their stuff, like their comments, and the most important thing, comment on their blog. Even the most famous marketers, even the most famous influencers read their comments on their blogs. You can trust me, you're definitely going to get their attention if you leave a thoughtful, not necessarily agreeable, content on their blog that makes sense and shows that you actually read what they did. I don't know if you can really do influencer marketing without this. Commenting on blogs is a really great way to do marketing. One of my few regrets, this is like 8 years of content marketing, is that I wasn't more active on other people's blogs at the time. Several marketers were mentioned here, Mark Schaefer, and there's other people that we all know and love from different blogs. It's really like where the conversation is happening. They put the time in to create that content. They're hoping for a comment. Give them what they're looking for and start that conversation. You'll get their attention immediately. So start conversations. Screenshot of a blog post comment. Now we're going to connect. Step 3. And by the way, if you're trying to write, I mean, we're going to share all these slides, I'm sure. In fact, I think if you search for online networking guide, some of these were on a post that ranks high for that phrase. Connect with them on LinkedIn. They know who you are. It's not weird. This is a symmetrical, reciprocal network, LinkedIn and Facebook. They have to accept that connection. So now they're ready. You could connect with them on LinkedIn, and it wouldn't be weird. They'll say, yes, of course, I'm becoming friends with this person now. Now you can interact with them more on LinkedIn. You can mention them, endorse them on LinkedIn. People love that. This one is a killer tactic. Recommend someone on LinkedIn. That law of reciprocity is going to really take effect. Those recommendations are so valuable, guys. They're so important. It really makes a huge difference to these people's careers in lots of cases. I would recommend each other. If you're with some coworkers, recommend them on LinkedIn. It's a kind thing to do. It helps them. It follows them around forever. I really think that's a powerful thing to do for someone. It's also a good part of influencer marketing. You're going to wow, I love everything they wrote. I've learned a ton from this person. It doesn't take that long, right? It doesn't take that long. Friend request on Facebook. That's a higher level of trust. You're really, truly becoming friends with them. Now you can interact with them on that social network. When I connect with people on LinkedIn is kind of unlike Google Plus that forces you to organize, LinkedIn is kind of a pile. And so I started tagging people. That makes it much easier. When you connect with someone, you can tag them. And now you can go back and look at the people who had that tag all at once in one place. So I have a tag called, it's that 1% of people. It's called like bloggers and writers. So whenever I connect with anybody on LinkedIn, I look to see if they've been endorsed for blogging, and if so, I tag them as such. I'm going to find them more easily later. These are people that are very special humans on the internet. It's like a different class of people online. We want to know who they are. We want to connect with them. Now, very few people will take these steps, but there are lots of places where you can gain a tiny bit of visibility just by connecting someone like Quora. Who's addicted to that Quora email they get in the mornings? That is such a great social network. It's all based on question and answers. Quora is awesome. Instagram, Yelp, Meetup, Storify, Listly. What about apps? Who was telling me this? Jason Falls. Someone is an amazing person to follow on Spotify. What about I wear a Fitbit, right? I see these people on my Fitbit stream, right? They're like I'm connected with them. There's all kinds of different places to connect with these people to become slightly more visible to them, connect with them on their personal interests. And it's not we're past the creepy point because they know who we are. We're talking to them. This isn't weird at all because we truly like this person. They know who we are. We moved way past creepy like 3 steps ago. Okay, 2 things that are really hard to win. Every content marketer is really hoping for these things, right? Podcasters, every marketing podcast ends the same way. Hey, if you like this podcast, head over to iTunes. We'd love to get a review. They're, famous marketers are scraping for podcast reviews. They love that. Why? They're very hard to win, and they affect the visibility of their podcast in iTunes. It's a big thing. And authors love these things. Pick your favorite author, right? You mentioned a couple books. Write a review for these people on Amazon. They're going to be very grateful. They won't forget you. It matters a lot. I know exactly who's reviewed my book on Amazon. I love those people. I will always love them. I feel indebted to them, and I'll help them however I can. The pace of all this work is a function of how famous that person is, relative to you, right? Super famous people, it's going to take a long time to connect with them, unless you're also super famous. I think Matt Damon calls up George Clooney. That guy probably answers the phone. That guy won't answer my call. But so there's a fame to speed ratio, right? So we have to be patient if we're really trying to make these connections, these valuable connections. And I'm going to show you guys some of the specific worth of them in a second. So this is a trick that I use a lot. we're trying, Malcolm Gladwell calls it the strength of weak connections. We want more than one connection to these influencers. It's not enough just to follow them on Twitter. You know, it's not they mentioned you on Twitter, yay, that gave you a little endorphin kick and you're happy that day, but that didn't really help your marketing that much. Wow, I just looked at my stats and I didn't get any new signups today, even though some famous person retweeted me. Yeah, amazing, that didn't really work, right? We need lots of connections to these people. Lots of connections if we're expecting to get to really become friends with them and to have them part of our sphere of influence long term. So one of the ways to do that is I call it crossing the streams, like in the movie Ghostbusters. Basically, an action happens in one place, and we're going to move that activity over to another place to say thank you. I post something on my site, it gets shared, it gets comments, I'm happy, I love these people, but I'm waiting a couple of days to see more shares and comments happen. Then I go to the second social network, and I'm going to thank the influencers who shared it the first time in that second social network. I go to Topsy. Topsy shows you everyone that shared that piece of content. And it's got a little tab at the top for influencers. I don't know what their algorithm is for understanding who's influential, but it's there. And those people tend to get more traction in social. And then I go to the other social network and I thank them for it. Now I'm going to share it again in social network. You know, the action happened in X. I'm going to social network Y, and I'm going to say thank you, and I'm grateful, and thanks for the comments, because that person is very likely to share it again in that social network. They also, if they haven't yet, they're very likely to follow me there. I'm trying to build more than one connection to these specific people, because I know that if I've got a lot of bloggers in my sphere of influence, that all the good things might happen. I might get that mention. I might get that link. I might get that share. I don't have a background in traditional PR, but it must be how PR works these days. I'm pretty sure this is exactly how digital PR works, without being like an actual PR person. I'm pretty sure. Finally, okay, if you really want to, we are content marketers, therefore we are publishers, therefore we can use our own blog as a networking tool. You can mention anyone you want. You can collaborate with anybody on your site. Even if you have just a simple site with a basic blog and a few posts, you still have another reason to reach out to people and to collaborate with them, which is forever going to make them more connected to you, which is the fun part anyway, right? That's the whole point, is to find people to collaborate with. Eventually we want them to mention us, but you want to collaborate with them. They're really going to to feel closer to you. So you can start by just mentioning them in your content, letting them know. Or you want to improve the quality of your content and make it more likely to get shared, ask for an influencer to contribute a quote. This is a super popular tactic. Just make it a rule. Everything that you post gets a quote from someone who's an expert. Why not? Right? It's going to make your content better, and they're more likely to share it once it goes live. This is not new. It's a very popular tactic, and it works great. If nothing else, your content just got better. Right? Your blog is a social networking tool. Or the expert roundup, right? These are still getting a lot of traction, although some people think the tactic's overused. Ask 5 people one question. If you're too busy to write, just try this. Just email a question to 5 different experts. Copy, paste. I've got a beautiful, high-quality post. Best of all, they might not even agree with each other. That's what I love it, right? Then you're going to get some comments in the post. Some people said yes, some people said no, that's a good idea. I should do an expert roundup on expert roundups. That would be fun. I just thought of that. I'm going to do that. Okay, so the other thing is to take one person that you're really building a close relationship with, because that's the blogging dog trainer that you care, that's really important for your audience, right? Get them on your site. Send that one person 5 questions and go deeper. My favorite approach to this is to actually just send a few questions at a time, because then you can respond to their answers in the subsequent question. Like, what do you think of X, Y, and Z? Well, I think X is good and Y and Z are bad. Oh, really? Why do you think Y and Z are bad? Right? It's more conversational. That's a nice way to do it. Or just send someone a bunch of questions. They might answer some of them. Maybe they're busy. You just take the ones that they give you the answers back. They can disregard the questions that they didn't find interesting. That's the deep dive interview. We do these expert roundups on our site. I call it 6 questions for 6 fill-in-the-blank job title. And people want to be included, right? Influencers we are all just people. That was the point from earlier. We're just normal humans. People wake up in the morning hoping to be quoted. They want to be contacted, right? They love to contribute content. Most people do, right? So it's not weird at all. Brewers, I don't know, whatever your topic is, whatever your audience is interested in. So this is 6 questions for 6 analytics experts. I got Dr. Pete from Moz, amazing like data scientist. I've got Neil Patel, killer growth hacker. Justin Cutroni is actually from Google, right? Great, we have a conference. I want to invite a speaker. Hey, Dr. Pete from Moz, would you mind coming giving us a presentation? Sure. How did I meet that guy? I met him on this post. That's how I met the guy, collaborating with content. That's how he knows me. I was sure I want people to read my blog, but this post is successful even if I get 0 readers, because it was a networking activity, right? We are the press. That's the modern era. That's the difference. That's what happened. Is the line between the marketer and the publisher got blurred, and marketers are now publishers. So you can get all the benefits that a publisher would get in terms of building connections. Finally, I'm a big believer in this. I don't think that you can really call yourself friends with someone unless you've actually talked to them, unless you've been on a phone call, like face-to-face meetings, get coffee. Take it offline, right? Great social media marketers know this. It's not about keeping your audience at arm's length. Get offline. Do something analog. Get together in person. Makes a huge difference. But for people who aren't local, that's not easy. I do a different Skype or Google Plus call with a different blogger somewhere in the world about once a week. I can't tell you the benefits this has had to my network. It's really, really powerful. And it's not that weird. Hey, I love that post you wrote. Would you want to jump on a G Plus Hangout sometime? I want to ask you a couple more questions about that. Or I got an idea I want to share with you. Or maybe we should collaborate on something. Why don't we do a quick call? Now you're really friends with the person. Now you're really connected to them, right? They pick up the phone. That's how you know that you actually have a connection. So when it comes to the big ask, and there's so many blog posts written about this, it's like, oh, how do you construct the perfect email to get that journalist to mention you in the thing, and make sure that your email has got a light conversational tone, and you're sympathizing with how busy they are, and blah, blah, blah. I think that this is really overemphasizing the structure of the ask and underemphasizing the value of friendship and real connections. I get emails like this. Hey, Andy, share this for me, please. Hey, thanks. Great. I'm sharing that right now. Why do I share it? Because I know that person, and I care about their content, and I know that they're good. So I can really, it's safe to say, you can totally de-emphasize the structure of the perfect email outreach, if you just take the time and go slow and actually care about the person. It's not friend like a technical jargon or like a social media term. I'm talking about actual friendship. These are people that you know. These are people I talk to on the phone because I have become friends with them. I really care about them. I really know them. Is this slide blank? Oh, no, it's animated. These are places that I have published from this exact kind of outreach. I cared about that editor first. I reached out to them first. I know who they are. These are places where I know what they're thinking about. I would never pitch something that wasn't appropriate to them. It's not a generic pitch. I'm talking to them anyway, right? So many of the great relationships that I've had that have led to so many of the opportunities I've had in marketing really started with these small actions in the beginning. That's kind of the whole point. I also think you're all doing something really great right now, which is going to events. I'm a huge fan of this. This is a giant shortcut in your marketing. Meet people face to face, right? We're like at step 6 right now, and we just met. Like, how awesome is that? Because you don't have to do all those little steps. You're actually meeting them face to face. So Sonia Simone and Cindy King, a lot of the great marketers that I met them in person. The editors of these big sites I met in meetings like this. So, by the way, the Marketing Profs and Content Marketing Institute B2B survey they do every year, still, year after year, lists in-person events as the most effective tactic. Do your own events, guys. Start an event. You guys do events. You're an event company. Events, though, are a great way. Like, we have a monthly event called Wine and Web. We have an annual event called Content Jam. If your salespeople are looking for something to talk about with prospects, and you've got an event on the calendar every month, well, you've always got a reason to follow up. Very effective. That in-person, especially for B2B, especially for long sales cycles, especially for trust-based consultative sales processes, face-to-face is critical. Live events are killer marketing. It's a type of content marketing, it's just most people don't call it that. There are influencer marketing tools. InkyBee, weird name. It actually draws little progress bars to show how much of these activities you've done. Have you retweeted them today? I don't use this tool. GroupHigh is another one. They've got a virtual summit happening. I made a video for them. I've never used this tool either. I should probably delete those slides. It's an industry, though. Influencer marketing. There's software for this stuff. Anyway, we're going to move on to the actual specific tactics that come from this, including search. I'm a search engine optimization geek. I've done 15 years of SEO. I pay a lot of my bills and keep a lot of my team together by generating demand through Google. How does that work? Google is the mean girl from high school. Have you heard this before? I mentioned her. That's a Sonia Simone quote. You can get her to like you, but you got to get everyone else to like you first. That's how it works. We have to look for all the little indirect benefits that make it work. So we got to get this. So when this kid over here on the left talks to that kid on the right, talks about him, he's lending his credibility to that other kid, right? On the internet, that's a link, right? Links are what creates credibility. Links are what pass authority from one website to another. That's the most important part about how Google works. If lots of pages, and Google doesn't rank websites, by the way. Google ranks web pages. Google never ranked a website. They only rank web pages, right? Every page is an opportunity to be relevant for a different phrase. It's all about key phrases, and that's a different topic. But this influencer marketing piece is critical because how do links happen? So when many pages link to a page, that page becomes more credible. If a really, really credible page links to another page, that's worth a lot more. That's a much bigger arrow. How do you get, a link on the New York Times? You got to be friends with the journalist, right? You got to have credibility. By the way, if that page links to many other pages, the value of the links are less. The total value passed by one page to another is divided by the total number of links on that page. A little bit of nuance. So in Moz, every 2 years, Moz.com, Moz does a search ranking factors study where they inject 15,000 keywords into Google, and they correlate different factors, different attributes of different pages with high rankings. And year after year, the number one factor in how high a page ranks is its authority. Google's term for this is PageRank. It's the number of pages that link to a page, right? Google was once asked in a webinar, could you ever build a search engine without links? I said, no. we wouldn't know what's good. That's the brilliance of Google. They outsourced the quality control to every editor of every website on the internet. That's why they won. What's on the page itself is not the best factor, the best indication of whether that page is good or not. It's what's happening on other pages on the internet, right? Maybe you guys knew this. Links equal credibility. Why do links happen? It's because something good on some website became visible to someone in that 1% who creates links, who makes content, right? That's why surveys keep showing that the number one SEO tactic is a combination of content and outreach. If you guys are bloggers, ask yourself why you would create a link. It's because you knew that content existed and you thought it was valuable and supported what you were creating. How did you know that content existed? Someone built a relationship with you. You saw it somewhere. It was shared somewhere. So when people say, oh, social media affects SEO, yes, but not the way people think. If something gets shared, a lot more people see it. Some small percentage of those people might be content creators, and then they might link to it. Does that make sense? It has to happen by accident, unless you skip those first two steps and make your content directly visible to someone who creates content, right? Think about that. We're just hoping that if we share this, that 1% of the people who see it will be content creators, and they'll like it enough to, God, good luck. The organic links don't just happen that magically, right? We have to do outreach. We have to contact people. We want to collaborate with them. We want to be friends with them. Then they're much more likely to share it. So in other words, does a reader decide it's worth sharing? They share it. Is it visible to a content creator, right? And then they decide if it's worth citing, mentioning, linking. What I'm describing is a way to skip that giant first step and go straight to the relationship that leads to the direct impact to SEO. Sounds technical. Does that make sense? A lot of stuff happening here in this presentation. Just throwing it all at you guys. You okay with this? That's basically how SEO is affected by social media. That's basically how people connect. That's how influencer marketing works. That's how you borrow the audience of an influencer. And these traffic sources, and I'm a big SEO fan for this reason, that top line is a website that relies on social media for its traffic. Lightning in a bottle. I don't know what people are going to share tomorrow. How do you plan viral content? I mean, good luck. It's very hard to predict. The second line is email marketing. Steady pulse, right? Grow your list, increases over time. But that bottom line, much longer date range, that's what search looks like. You're gradually building the authority of your website. You're gradually creating more pages relevant for more content, more topics, more keywords. What's the maximum number of pages you can produce on a website? There's no limit, right? You can keep making more content relevant to more topics. The great SEOs, they do this piece. The other piece is they make the mini version of Wikipedia for their industry. I got the best dog training site you could imagine, and I got relationships with 55 different dog training bloggers. That site's going to rank. Social media traffic, I love it, but when Michael Stelzner or some famous person, Brian Clark, they do share your content, it doesn't have the results that people think, because conversions from social tend to be pretty low. I'm on Facebook, I'm clicking around, I'm literally browsing, I click on something, it's very unlikely I'm going to buy based on that click, right? Because I had no intention per se. A visitor this is our website, conversion rates from social media, 0.04% from Twitter. LinkedIn wins with 0.25%. That's the percentage of visitors who become leads on our website from social media. Pretty low. Compare that to search. 600% more, there's a 600% higher likelihood that a visitor from search will take an action on our website because they had intention, because they were searching for something, right? So one last final trick. I want to show you guys how to be much more efficient in all of that social media activity that you're spending time with now, so that you can focus your time on the conversations. Here it is with scheduling. You know that it's not enough to share something once. Little graphic posted on CoSchedule, something goes live, share it multiple times in Twitter, several times in Facebook, whatever social networks you use. That's kind of like a routine. You just have to do it. You know that you got to do it, so you do it. But you can use Hootsuite to do this. You guys, anyone using Hootsuite or TweetDeck? Use that auto schedule button. It knows when your audience is active, and it shares it at that time. That's great. So just click that little button. You can set any specific time, pick any date in the future, or just turn on auto schedule, and it will share it right when your audience is active. So in the morning, you can or Buffer does this too. In the morning, you just find all the stuff you want to share, and it tweets it out at different times of day. You can go on with your day without looking at social all day. Buffer does it with a little button in the browser. There's Chrome extensions for this. Here's how to load up a cannon full of social media content, set it and forget it, and you'll be way more effective. This one trick here should save you guys maybe 6 hours a month, at least. That's what I get from it. There's a paid piece on this tool. This is a tool I'm going to show you called Edgar. You've seen this one? Meet Edgar? Meet Edgar and Social Oomph. Weird names. Those are the two tools that do this. So first I want to find my best content, and then we'll wrap it up. My best content is the stuff that gets shared and clicked and gets visitors to act the most often. Then I want to share at the times of day that are best for my audience, and I want to set it once and have it taken care of forever. I mentioned Topsy is a way to see who shared a specific piece of content. Put in one URL, it shows you everyone that shared it on every social network. Here's another one called BuzzSumo. BuzzSumo, just put in a blog, it shows you all the top shared posts on that blog. Great competitive analysis tool. You can see what's getting traction somewhere else. Gives you ideas for what to create in your content. Put your own site in there. It will show you all the posts that got shared the most often on one screen. You can grab them all at once. The free version shows you the top 5. That's good enough to start for this. You can also see which social network they got the most traction in. It's interesting to see. Some content has legs here, but doesn't do anything over there. We can also go, if we've been using that auto schedule feature in Hootsuite, there's a report in the paid version. I signed up for the paid version to get this report. Then I canceled it before the 30-day trial was over. No one from Hootsuite's here, I hope. It showed me which got the most clicks. I saw what got the most shares. Now I'm seeing what got the most clicks. This is also high-value content. I'm looking for my best. This is my best. So these are the posts that got clicked the most. Finally, this is a combination trick using analytics. If you have a thank you page from your email sign-up, you can go look and you have that goal set up in analytics. You can look at the report called Reverse Goal Path to see what people were doing right before they took that action. The previous step 1 in Reverse Goal Path, these are all the blog posts that people were reading before they subscribed. This is also my best. So I just made a list of all the stuff that gets shared the most, gets clicked the most, and gets visitors to subscribe the most. High value stuff, right? Because I could share anything. Why not share the best? Share the stuff that's going to convert. Share the stuff that's going to get people to take action. Share the stuff that will get reshared. Now, I think this was follower wonk. It shows you the time of day that your audience is active. Generally speaking, lunchtime here is like breakfast in... No, 11 a.m. in Midwest is dinner, or no, I get confused by time. Right. You get the idea. It's breakfast in one coast and lunch in the other. I know, I can actually do that math, I'm sure. I'm on the spot, though. You guys are pressuring me. It's going to be fine. Generally speaking, 11 a.m. in Madison is a good time to share something on social for both coasts. Enough said. Finally, I go to Meet Edgar. I'm paying $50 a month for this. It saves me, I think, 6 hours a month. It saves Amanda, my co-working marketing manager, another 6 hours a month. And I load these in there. And I write these tweets like I am masterfully crafting each of these tweets because they're going to go into a cycle that just runs forever, right? It's worth the time. These tweets are worth the time. So I'm putting them in there, and every one of them I'm adding a headline that has clarity, right? Headlines have to tell people the benefit or no one will click on them. Don't write vague headlines unless you're deliberately triggering curiosity. I write a secondary headline with a number in it. I'm using special characters. Copypastecharacter.com is like hundreds of special characters. You just click on one and it copies it to your clipboard. I'm putting hashtags in there. I'm putting line breaks in there. And I'm putting images in every one of these. Content with images gets shared much, much more. There's lots of data on this. If you don't put an image in that tweet or Facebook post, don't expect anyone to share it. That's kind of the takeaway for that. Next, I load them in at these different times. So I put all these in a category, and I tell Meet Edgar, or just Edgar they call it, all the different times that I want to share it. Jeff Boulis, massive social influencer, does this every 15 minutes. To me, that's like a fire hose. I don't want to blast everybody. I do maybe one every couple hours. So this is literally the schedule in Edgar for my posts. So that tactic was a way for me to share just the stuff that gets the most traction at just the right times for my network, so that I have taken off my plate completely all that sharing stuff, all the stuff that could be automated. This is marketing. What to do, right? What to automate, what to delegate, what to skip. That's the trick, right? You could spend endless hours on social media. So that frees up my time to go spend over here having conversations. I'm using social media for the content promotion, the direct benefit for traffic over there, that's automated. Now I'm over here, I'm sharing stuff that my audience cares about and people I'm becoming friends with. I'm using social media like a phone book. I'm using social media like a phone. I'm connecting with the 1% of people who create content. I'm sharing stuff that they might support what they're doing. They're linking back. That's giving me this long-term, durable, competitive advantage of building up my own authority, building up my own audience, and growing friends. So now when I've got something really good and I really believe in it, and I think that I'd like for them to help me by adding it to their roundup in the end of the week or sharing it with their audience, they're happy to, just like I'm happy to share with them. So I guess fortune and glory, we called it. It's really just friendship. I should rename this presentation just how to make friends online. Anyway, that's what I've got for you guys. Maybe we have time for a question or two? Thanks, that was fun.
Thank you. That was amazing. Eddie, time for questions. Kayla.
The question is list management. So I mentioned that I have all different lists, and there's different places that I'd use these things. If you watch, the list I'm managing is in different places. There's a list in Twitter, that's Radar. There's a list in LinkedIn, that's Tagged. There's a list in Feedly, that's like my RSS reader, like subscribing to things. So the list ends up in lots of places, so it's actually kind of hard. There isn't a central place to do that. which is, I think, why people use GroupHi and InkyBee, because that's a list management system. It like puts them all in one place. It searches for them, you say which ones you want, and then it puts them on this list for you, and you manage them that way. I think if you're really going for friendship and you're not like blasting tons of people to do hardcore influencer marketing, it's not so many people that it should be that difficult. If you've got 5 or 10 targets for the week, paper might work. I use a lot of Google Docs for things. But the one list that I really watch would be Radar in Twitter, because every time I open Hootsuite, it's right there in front of me. Hootsuite's a great way to do all of these tricks. I have not used Periscope, but I'm starting to use Blab. Yeah, which is interesting. This reminds me of the other question about what if your audience doesn't appear to be on Facebook. I try to resist the urge to start with a tool and then look for a way to use the tool. Content strategy is about knowing what your audience is interested in, what topics, where they hang out, and go backwards from your audience. So for these kinds of things, I mean, for a lot of the influencer stuff, for journalists and for marketers, if your audience is marketers, that's almost definitely going to be a good place. But depending on the audience, I wouldn't try to shoehorn a tool or a channel into my audience. Rather, go backwards from what they care about, where they hang out, rather than the other way. You're more likely to connect with them. That's kind of content strategy stuff.